Hey, my man Darius, we've made it, and we're finally going to give you guys the ultimate interview of how a successful real estate investor does real estate investing in the mortgage meltdown. So basically, this is Darius Soy. Darius Soy, say hello to all the exciting investors.
How you guys doing out there?
Okay, we're going to start by simply asking Darius, what does he do for a living? Okay, I'd like to find out exactly what he does for a living.
Well, what I used to do for a living is I worked at the San Francisco Mint making collector coins. And it was getting tiring driving all the way back to San Francisco and then coming back to Stockton, San Francisco and Stockton. I would leave here in the morning about 11 and I wouldn't get home till about 12 that night. And that was starting to take a toll on me. And one day, my fiance just told me hey, why don't you just look at real estate? I had a Carlton Sheets box sitting in my closet for about 2 years before I decided to open it up. And I opened it up and the first thing it said was like, join your local real estate investors club. So I was like, okay, I'll find a real estate investors club locally. And this happened all in a matter of hours. I looked up online, found a local real estate investors club here in Stockton. And then a few hours later, I was at that real estate, because there was a meeting that night. So I was at that real estate meeting that night, and that's when I met Terry.
Well, I already told him how we met, and I asked the question, hey, when I teach students, I always like to tell them I like to try to make you $100,000. And so I said, if I brought my video guy over and I held the mic in front of him, well, what would you say? Go ahead, tell him what you told him.
Well, I told Terry, I said, he walked up to me and said, if I could teach you how to make $100,000, what would I say to him? And the only words that could come out of my mouth was, I love you.
Another man telling me he loved me. Then it's like, whoa, I'm at the point now where I said, you know what? That's great. Gave him a big hug, and he, at that point, became my student. I knew that this guy was the guy I wanted to train. So we hooked up, did my training with him, and I've told you guys the amazing success he's had, again, because of his hard work. But I want to get deeper into what drives him, because there's a lot of investors that say they want it. But again, like he said, he put the course on the shelf, didn't do anything with it. A lot of people do that. I've done that before. What is it, Darius? What is your why? What drives you to make these calls to the banks constantly, day in and out, and knock on homeowners' doors in foreclosure?
Well, what drove me was my fiance and my daughter. The main thing that I wanted to do was us to be financially free. I was tired of spending so much time away from home, not seeing them. When I come home, everybody's asleep. When I leave, everybody's gone. So you really don't get to spend time with your family the way life is supposed to be. The American dream is what? To buy a house and live at home with your family comfortably. And I wasn't doing that.
Well, I'll tell you what, that's a good-looking family there, too. You guys got to admit, those are good-looking family he has there, so I could see why. And Darius, that's kind of sort of the same things that drove me as a real estate investor, because it was my family, it was my daughter. I was concerned that my daughter wanted to go to college and didn't have the money. So at that point, it was either get rich or die trying in real estate, okay? Borrow a scene from 50 cents. Hey, we're going to get down to the nitty-gritty now. Let's talk about you dealing with these banks, your first conversations. Matter of fact, before we talk about the banks, how did you start out? What did I recommend you start as a real estate investor?
Well, the first thing that Terry recommended that I do was go door to door, knocking on homeowners' homes and find out how to get to banks through them. Basically, what you do, you knock on the door and say, I'm here to help you. I'm a certified foreclosure specialist. I'm here to help you keep your home. And from there, it leads you from the homeowner to the bank. And I figured, okay, if I'm getting homeowners to lead me to the bank, why not just deal with the bank themselves?
So how many homeowners' doors did you knock on before you made that transition?
Well, I knocked on about 60 homeowners' doors.
Now that's funny, because you never dealt into real estate before, but you would go knock on homeowners' doors. And like I said, you guys, it's your why that drives you to be successful. He's never knocked on doors before, but I told him to go knock on doors, and he goes and does it. Why? Because his family, he wants to take care of his family, and he knows that real estate is a source and a means and a vehicle for making you wealthy. So he took my advice to go knock on doors. Then something happened, okay? I got this list, and now I want you to continue what happened after that.
Well, one reason why I started to knock on doors is Terry gave me the confidence to go out and do it. He's a great teacher, and the thing about it is that when I go knock on doors, I wasn't sure of what to say, but Terry gave me a script of what to say, so I was prepared before I knocked on those doors. That's what gave me the confidence to keep going. Now, Terry sent me a list of banks that I had no clue what to do with at first. But I put together working with the homeowner and working with the bank and said, okay, why don't I just deal with the bank? So this list of banks that was in trouble supposedly had a bad rating, and they would be in trouble of closing. So the only way I figured to help them out and help myself out was get some of those bad loans, those bad notes off their books. So I started calling all of these banks and asking, are they willing to sell their notes?
Where'd you get the scripts?
This man right here again.
Hey, we got it all figured out. You guys got all the scripts, and go ahead and continue. Now, he started calling banks. Were you a little nervous at first, since you've never done it before? Were you nervous?
Well, calling banks, I was a little intimidated because I didn't know what I was asking for and who I was asking for, and the whole business itself. And when you call a bank, they already know their stuff, supposedly. When I found out, when I started calling banks, most people didn't know what I was talking about until I got to the right person. And once I got to the right person, I began to talk with them, and then I started to learn their language, and then my next phone call got better because I used the language that they used.
So you got better with time.
With time.
He wasn't an expert at first. It's like none of us are experts. But he became a master from practicing and practicing and practicing. Now this guy does it, and it's so flawless. Okay, and again, I told you guys the number of presidents he's talked to, because again, I was on the phone with him, the vice president and asset manager. So that's a little bit. Do you want to share anything with these guys as far as some of the things that you've learned, or some secrets that, again, he's going to be on the webinar. He's going to be in week 4 with me and Larry. Anyway, what we're going to do now, we're going to head over to these 2 properties that Darius was sent again by a bank. Now, do you remember who sent you these properties? Was it a president, vice president, asset manager? You remember who?
This was actually the vice president of the...
You don't have to give the bank now. Don't give the bank.
No.
Okay.
Of the Special Assets Department.
Special Assets Department of a bank gave me these 2 properties. So we're going to pack it up, show you guys these 2 properties. Again, Darius is going to be in week 4. He's going to be sharing all of his insider secrets. This guy has mastered the art of calling banks. I've never called that many banks, you guys. But what I do is I teach, I give you a system, and I let you go out and I help you by talking with you and working with you so that you can become an expert in real estate and make money also. So let's go take a look at a couple properties. Come on, Darius, let's go.